This show would not be produced without InstantlyRelevant.com. My teams at InstantlyRelevant.com do an excellent job at creating the content, the social media posts, managing the whole process. The systems we've built to help grow a business without brand-wrecking spam have been critical, and they're just so integrated into what we do here at Never Been Promoted. So if you have the same needs of growing a business online, through social media, through web, through email, check out InstantlyRelevant.com and see if they can help you as well.
Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast with Thomas Helfrich. Get ready for a thrilling adventure as we uncover entrepreneurial journeys and life-changing business insights every week. And now your host, Thomas.
Welcome to another episode of Never Been Promoted, where we are trying to help you unleash your entrepreneur. Hello, I'm Thomas Helfrich, your host. And today I'm joined by John Jackson, who is the founder and CEO of Bytagig. And I think I said that right, where they're a cybersecurity and IT company doing all kinds of cool stuff that he is going to tell you about, because I would butcher it if I tried. John, how are you doing today?
Hey, thanks, Thomas. And you did it just right. So it is pronounced Bytagig. Doing great. And thanks for having me on today.
I appreciate you taking the time out of your week to do this. I know you're very busy, as most founders and CEOs are. But in this world where cybersecurity, IT, it's only growing, the needs and the problems that are around it. You've formed a company around it, and we're going to talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey through that. But let's kind of set the stage, clean the table or set the table. I'm not sure which one it would be. Talk about you a little bit, your history a little bit, how you take us from kind of your early beginnings and how you got to the company you're currently founder of.
Yeah, so I think kind of my earliest memories of wanting to get into technology was, my dad had bought a couple computers at home. This is back during the age when not everybody had computers in their house, right? So I enjoyed playing games and things like that on it. But we would encounter computer issues and technical issues and not know how to solve them between the two of us, he and I both. And he's always been, easy to learn this stuff, and he picks it up pretty quick too. But I was like, I really enjoy being able to solve problems, and even if it's just fixing a small computer issue or glitch or something like that. So, and I knew that, this was the future of the world that we were going to live in. So going into college, I studied business and computers because I wanted to have a little bit of business background. I wasn't really interested in programming. I was more interested in integrating and making technology work. So that's kind of how I got started, was going into School of Business at Portland State University with a specialization in management information systems.
And it took you on an interesting journey, right? Talk about how you kind of got into cybersecurity a bit as well, in the context of at school and such. But tell me about how cybersecurity became part of your life.
Yeah, so when I went to college, cybersecurity wasn't really I'm making myself sound old. It was only 20 years ago, okay? But 20 years ago, when I was in college, cybersecurity wasn't a huge concern like it is now. And so, obviously focusing, at the time, it was mostly focusing on managing an IT department. How do you, coordinate things like developers and servers and databases and all of that. So fast forward to really 2019, 2020, and as the business was growing, which we started in 2009, I started in 2009, I say we, but it's really just me. 2009, it's kind of evolving the business to 2019 and 2020. We've already gotten to managed services, and now we're looking at and talking to a lot of people in the industry and saying cybersecurity is really where we need to be heading next. And so that's we've just kind of adopted that as a cybersecurity mindset and model, especially heading into COVID. That was really when this took off, and we really started being able to sell cybersecurity services and solutions to our customers.
And how old is your company at this point in 2023?
Yeah, we started the company. I started the company in 2009, so it's 14 years old. We just celebrated our 14-year birthday in November.
And I think you think back through that, right? So I think kind of the entrepreneurial takeaway, I always try to give these out as we go, is you looked at a market and something emerging into a big growing market, technology, computers, IT, and You hit it right. I mean, like that was the right time to do it. And I think as entrepreneurs look at what they might want to do with their lives, that you look at a couple tracks, right? You look back at what you learned, studied, experienced, and look at where it's going and where there's a growing market, people who need these things, and can you play in it? And you did that really well. And maybe talk about like the early days, and to me, two parts to kind of covers how you got your first customers, which is always like in new entrepreneurs. How am I going to get my customers? And second, like any very significant pivotal moments during that journey that allowed you to continue to grow or avoid closure or what have you.
Yeah. So I love talking about this. Like my first couple of customers were just people coming to me who were like, hey, we understand you work on computers. Can you help me fix this computer issue? So I got into it that way. Just a few opportunities fell into my lap that way, just by means of people knowing what I do and, word of mouth. So that kind of got me what drew me into it. And then really, like, it was as a side hustle for several years. What really started happening in 2018, I was, just educating myself more on business and entrepreneurship and really wanting to just start off on my own. Because at the time I was working as a technical program manager for a large enterprise. And so I was like, well, I think what I want to do is I want to just go off on my own and become like an IT consultant. And I'm really glad I did not stick in that lane. So I think one of the things, as you're saying, is like the ability to pivot quickly is very important. And I think we're going to continue to need to be able to pivot quickly, even as our business has grown. But like being able to pivot from being an IT consultant, which is a very general, vague, industry, right? To then saying, like, I was advised by somebody, I'm very grateful for this advice, like, you need to set up yourself to be a managed service provider with monthly recurring revenue contracts.
Right.
You cannot build a business without that monthly recurring revenue. And so we started offering that to clients, and many of them took us up on that. And then many others who are, already familiar with that model we're happy to sign up for it as well. So that's kind of how it helped us be able to survive financially through 2019, 2020 until now. Is we have a very strong base of monthly recurring revenue service contracts.
Well, and you make, so when you're looking about your business, you architect in a way that you knew you wouldn't be in this endless hunt and hunt, kill kind of cycle, eat, right? Even if you had gone consulting route, you probably would have solved that by hiring other consultants underneath you to help you do work, because that becomes your recurring revenue model in a consultant model.
As going as a consultant, yes, but the problem with that is that consulting practices are generally like, okay, you have a 6-month engagement with a client, for example, right? But you don't know what's going to happen after that 6 months. You may have a renewal or you may not have anything. So instead, we're typically operating on 3 to 5 year agreements with our customers. And so we can cash flow and plan out like, okay, every single month we know for the next 36 months when we sign up a customer that we're going to have a strong financial base to be able to support that customer, as well as, be able to eat and not have to be worrying about what's going to happen in month 7, month 8.
Well, and in your journey, right? So it's one thing, maybe now you fast forwarded here, several years, right? You look back, what's maybe one thing of advice you wish you would have known when you were first beginning or early stage even?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think knowing, like, entrepreneurship is full of risks, right? And knowing and understanding the risk game and your risk tolerance, because there's some risks that I took that I'm super glad I did and that were very good risks that I took. And there are other risks that I took. I'm like, man, what a dumb mistake that was, right? So, when it comes to, for example, hiring risks, there were some things I wish that I could have. One thing for sure really burnt us really bad was in 2021, I believe it was. We hired an employee that we did not have a good, productive relationship with, and I held on to him for way longer than I should have.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not and he was kind of a charity case. So, my heart went out to him when it came to the reasons why he wasn't being productive. But at the same time, I wasn't financially ready to take on the risk of having a charity case. We just could not support that. And so we spent a lot of time going around and cleaning up after this employee. And it was costing us more money than it was bringing in. And so it was very frustrating. It was something I wish we could have axed him after 90 days going back. I would say that was probably one of our my biggest learning experiences.
Well, there, and you answered one of the other questions I asked was what biggest regret. And I think it ties to a bigger concept of when you hire or you even pick teams or partners, do it deeply, meaning really have purpose, know what they're supposed to be doing, especially early stage where you just can't afford inefficiencies, and you certainly can't add anchors, right? You can have people who can kind of help a little bit, but if they're slowing you down or even worse, costing you money, and you just can't. And I think as an entrepreneur, as you think about it, you just pick your partners, pick your employees, but really hire deeply with purpose and be ready to make hard, fast decisions when it's not working.
Yep. And that was, to that point, that was one of those things where, somebody can talk a good game. And we've had several more instances like this, but they've quickly churned out, shall we say, where somebody talks a really good game in the interview process and they just do not live up to what they've promised, unfortunately. And so, but we've had other folks where they came to us, they found us on our website, they came to us, and we've just attracted some really good team members who are still with us, 3 years later, which, isn't a terribly long amount of time to be with a company. But at the same time, there's a lot of folks nowadays who are with companies for a year or less. And again, for where we're at as a business, we just can't sustain high turnover and churn. So we've just worked to really build a good, strong team who wants to stay here. And so it just makes our model up financially viable. And then also our customers like having people that they've worked with for a long time as well. Having the same folks, they don't have to repeat the same thing 10 times because, there's a high turnover with their technician staff. So it just, that's the other thing I've found is like, I've taken risks on other people that it's turned out wonderfully. So, making those risks with a lot more experience now, those choices on risk has been one of my greatest learning experiences.
And if you look back, right, and this will kind of take us some kind of the questions I typically ask later, but you're in time zero now. What are you doing to mitigate? Because you still have to take risk, and there's some things you're probably like, should I, should not? And you're learning from that. But what are you doing now to be better prepared? I mean, maybe it's mentoring, maybe it's education, coaching. Is there a framework used? What are you doing now to mitigate the future risk here at time zero for you?
Yeah, so we've got a lot more of a structured hiring process now. We, have some more technical types of questions that we ask, as well as behavioral questions to hopefully see if somebody is hungry and willing to grow and willing to learn, or do they think they know everything? That's one of the biggest differentiations that we've seen when it comes to successful, employee relations is it somebody who's open to learning and has an open mind, or do they think they already know everything? That's probably one of the biggest decision points that we've found out in hiring. And then having a better onboarding structure, really going through and making sure that we have a very thought out and well planned first 30, 60, 90 day process for new employees so that they can be successful as soon as possible. Or we find out as soon as possible that they're not going to be successful, and then we can part ways.
You make a good point there. So I know in our organization, we certify all our engagement specialists, people who work on our teams. We don't use the model of a lot of places do like VA, right? Because they come on, you just kind of tell them some stuff to do. We actually take people through a whole certification piece, test them out same way. Your 90 days is very generous. It's 30. You'll see quickly in 30 days if the work ethic and the propensity to learn is there. And if it's not, we go faster than that. I mean, so I applaud you for being patient, but I would tell you, you could be even more aggressive if you see the signs of telling you late, fast work, doesn't show it, gone. Like, this isn't working. See ya. We just recently experienced a situation where we had somebody quit after 30 days, but it was very much a mutual parting of the ways because we were putting so much pressure on them intentionally because we could see a lot of problems that were about to happen if they didn't fix their ways. Well, no doubt, right? And you see it quickly. And I think the advice to give to entrepreneurs is sometimes you got to make, I wouldn't do charity case hires actually ever. You can work with people who have shown loyalty, I believe, I mean, we've had this where like, listen, just, take a couple weeks for yourself. Well, we got backups for you, whatever it is. The new people, I just, you're just not in a position typically to take that on. And I think, you learned it. And I would recommend not hiring friends unless they're very qualified. I definitely wouldn't work with family members.
Right.
It's just, you're setting yourself up for, I guess maybe I'd say it this way. You're not setting yourself up poorly. What it is, I think early, a lot of entrepreneurs I see have an idea, why would someone want to work for me? And they hire who says yes, versus people want to work for you because they'll believe in you and they'll get behind you on what you're doing. So you can go to the market and find the really good people if you have the, compelling offer. And sometimes it's more about the vision and who you are more in the environment, more so than the money sometimes. So,
yeah.
Have you seen the same type of behaviors with that as well?
Yeah. I was just going to say probably one of our most successful hires recently. He started about at the beginning of this year and he had zero technical experience. Now he had technical knowledge, but he didn't have work experience, but he wanted to get into the field. So we looked again at like, is he hungry? Is he willing to learn? Does he think he knows everything? Absolutely. He doesn't think he knows everything. That's why he's trying to get into this. We said, we're going to put you on as a temporary. You're going to have 90 days. And then we'll make a decision after the first 90 days. He demonstrated so much willingness to learn, hard work ethic, like everything that we were looking for. And he is a solid, so we converted him to full-time permanent. And he has been a solid asset on the team ever since then.
Wow. That's great. And that's a really interesting piece too. Sometimes you don't need someone who has direct experience. You just need someone who has a passion to learn it and the capabilities and to be enabled. And I think that's a hard decision to make when you're trying to grow. I know personally, we've done that with people where we've interviewed them for one thing, and in the interview they're talking about, you ask the questions to see what they'll come up with it, right? Of, when you're not working, what do you like to do? And they're talking about, oh, I love to create videos and this. And I'm like, would you be interested in doing that for our work? Like, it's like, you hear what they're passionate and what they really love to do when they're not working. I'm like, well, why don't you want to do that instead? And they're like, well, yeah. And you hire them for something different because they're, and so maybe in your world, it's not quite the same piece, but I think ask people those questions, right? When you're going through this process of building your teams, of what does he really love to do? So when passion meets capability in learning, you got the right person right there because they'll be happy.
Yeah. And there's nothing more rewarding and fulfilling as a business owner than having people doing things that they are feeling passionate and fulfilled about and watching them enjoy working, not just working for a paycheck.
Well, exactly. And you're also then, you're somewhat protecting your, they're not out there trying to build a side hustle, right? They're not out there being distracted by what they really want to go do. They're out there giving you their best time and knowing that I really enjoyed what I did and I made money from it. And that's no doubt. I love that. So that's a great takeaway, guys. Find people who have passion, who are behind the idea. I think the recent, the exiting of the OpenAI, CEO board saying, hey, get rid of you. Sam, you're out. They go from 3 CEOs in like 2 days and they're back because the entire employees are like, no, we're here because of Sam and the idea, not your idea. And I think,
and by the way, your board of directors, you're fired.
Yeah. Did they fire the board at this point? I don't even know in this story.
I know they've replaced, at the time of this recording, they've replaced at least 3.
And I love that. I love that they've, that the employees got behind it and said, hey, this is one of the greatest technologies ever. We are here for that reason. And that's a great story. Look into kind of like, kind of moving the kind of conversation kind of forward, right? When you were moving forward, you talked about a couple of pivotal moments, right? But talk about a couple of your, maybe your biggest regret, and it could be business or personal, because these things are very tired as an entrepreneur. And maybe one of your happiest moments.
Well, like I said, I think my biggest regret is holding on to that charity case for a year, which was way too long. And, my service manager had been warning me all along, which I was like, I know, I'm trying to do this and let's do this, try to remediate it this way. Like I wasn't just ignoring the issue. We were trying to address it, but at the same time, issues just keep coming up. So, and, we parted on good ways and we still have, a good friendship there. But the it just did not work out. We were not ready to absorb that kind of inefficiency with our team. Like we really strain for like 75 to 85% utilization on tickets, and much more. We were having a lot of quality issues we had to go back and fix. So that was just a drain on the rest of the team. That was the biggest regret, I would say. And what was the other second part of that question?
No, just what was my happiest moment, just like in life or whatever else, is you've been on this long journey of your own kind of boss, right? Of being a company.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been like, and I'll give you an example of mine, right? Mine, like some of mine would be like, I'm picking up a kid at, from chess, and I didn't have to ask anyone, just like I can be in that moment right then. That it's something small, like it's just those little happy moments that have, man, I'm my own entrepreneur. I can just, I'm here right now, and no one told me otherwise. I chose to be something like this.
Mm-hmm. I think happiest moments as an entrepreneur, like I enjoy going to events and networking with people and learning new things. And it may not even be technology related. It might be just more like general business, sales, marketing, things like that. And I just that kind of energy, like when you go to a business conference or something like that, really drives me. And I just enjoy traveling. So it's kind of like my excuse to get to travel. So that I would say some of my happiest moments just been when I've been able, now that I'm a full-time business owner. Before it was a lot harder when I was trying to juggle that with a full-time job. But now that I'm completely on my own and have a team managing things for me, I don't have to worry about the day-to-day operations as much. It's really rewarding to be able to go enjoy those conferences, network with people, meet people. And there's always all kinds of great relationships that happen because of that too.
Yeah, and I love that because those little moments like that really, they all have plenty of challenging ones being an entrepreneur, but they do matter so much because it makes things enjoyable in life for sure. What are you doing now for the future? So I think we talked about this. Do you seek, coaching? Do you seek, what are you doing to prepare for the next kind of, chapter or, season of your life?
Great question. So we are working on several initiatives right now for the next chapter in our business as we prepare for 2024. And the top things that I want to see happen in 2024 is for our customer experience to really become not just average, but exceptional. And we have an exceptional team, and everybody who works with our team, says how great and easy they are to work with whenever they have a help desk ticket or whatever they're doing. But we really want to put some systems in place that make it super easy for them to reach out to the team and be able to contact them. Right now, average is, being able to send in an email to a ticketing system or pick up the phone and call our help desk. We want to work on some tools that are out there that would allow for somebody to, for example, to do a live chat session with a technician or a live screen interaction or something like that, where they can instantly connect with a technician and they can remote into their computer and help them out. So that's my goal for 2024, because I feel like that's really going to help set us apart from the rest of the competition. The other thing we're working on as well is developing a national field technician database of techs that are trained on our ways and that are fully vetted and available so that we can instantly be anywhere we need to be in the country with these field technicians. So if a customer comes to us that is 2,000 miles away from us, we will have them covered with our field technician network.
Awesome. Listen, before we kind of go in this kind of hot seat of kind of, what you're using technology to kind of enable your business and other things to help entrepreneurs, you travel back to, yourself right out of college, right? What do you tell yourself?
When I was fresh out of college, I was very much in the mindset that I was just going to work for a large enterprise. I would have started my entrepreneurial journey much sooner in preparing for this moment that I'm in now. I wish, because I've learned so much more than I ever did in college and than I ever did in the large enterprise, being an entrepreneur and being off my own. So not necessarily splitting off and leaving my day job any sooner than I did, but certainly educating myself and getting more exposure to the small business world, medium enterprise, and entrepreneurship in general. I wish I would have started that journey much earlier.
Yeah, anybody who's gone down the entrepreneurial journey and found any level of success almost always says that. I wish I would have just trusted myself earlier, and learned more. Listen, before we kind of move kind of the hot seat of just kind of questions, tell me who your ideal customer profile is, and in who should get a hold of you, and how should they get a hold of you?
Great question. So we have a wide swath of customer industries that we support right now. And I would say if we could wave a wand and bring in any customers that we want, we really like some more customers that have 20 to 100 employees and that are industries like biotechnology, life sciences, legal and financial industries. Those customers are probably the ones that we are able to serve the best. And then the best way to reach out to us, our website is bytagig.com, and it's spelled Bytagig. And by the way, the origins of that name, Bytagig, it's just essentially taking the word gigabyte and switching it around. So that's how we arrived at that name.
It's like the dyslexic cybersecurity company, just flip it. It's like,
yeah.
Yeah,
Now I need to figure out a dyslexic way to take the word cybersecurity or a related word and convert that.
Exactly. I would be, this is where my creativity turns to AI to help.
There we go.
For sure. Well, here, a little hot seat for you. Okay. So I ask these questions jokingly because it's like, I'm collecting data for future sponsors, but also it does help other entrepreneurs understand what kind of technologies you're using and things you're doing to help improve your world. The first question, what is your favorite calendar scheduling technology?
I really like Clockwise. And if you're not familiar with what it is, it's very similar to Calendly, but it also helps you manage your own priorities and goals when it comes to things like focus time or other floating things that you want to get done at some point in time in the day or in the week. And it will move those things around based on other events happening in your calendar. So let's say, for example, you say, I want to spend 2 hours a day on self-improvement. You can put that in there and you can mark it as a flexible time, and it will move it around based on each and every day and the schedule accordingly.
That's actually interesting because I think, like personally, I do that. I just block off Wednesdays to do what I want, and usually it'll become a podcast day for me to film, and record, or I'll learn. It's a learn day, and so But the idea is you have no expectation email. So I think a calendar that can help you dynamically do that and say, hey, you have 2 hours of focus time coming up. That's it. I've never heard of that before. That's something I'm going to check out.
Yeah. And then when you create a scheduling link for each, type of event that you want to send to somebody to schedule something with you, you can program that link to say, do I want it to override my focus time or do I want to preserve my focus time? And you can set up all kinds of parameters as to which time of the day, what part of the day, which day of the week this link works. So I really like it because I used to use Calendly, and then I would want to have blocks of time like what you're describing, and then things would just fill up. So it works a lot better, I think.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because I'll have to look at this. But part of this next question is, it's also some integrations of like how many technologies do I really want? What about your CRM? What do you like? What do you like this for your company?
Yeah, we really like HubSpot. It's not the cheapest solution out there, but it is very robust, and it does have a lot of integrations with many of the other systems we use. So that is the reason why we've chosen that.
Yeah, that's a popular answer. I'm looking at. We use very simply, like we don't really use one right now because I'm looking at where I can simplify scheduling plus CRM plus some other things without it being too cumbersome, right? And so HubSpot, if you have a budget, I think that's like the enterprise go-to standard, right? Especially if you start going down the road of content and email marketing and other things. So a very popular answer for sure. Probably not one I'd start with because they do get you on the little crack cocaine, very cheap for first year, and then it gets very expensive after. But so proceed with caution, robust, but know that you might need an individual lined up to any CRM to make it work well. Say it that way. Someone's got to kind of be responsible for it.
To that point, I think HubSpot has been pretty easy and intuitive for me, but I come from a technology background to not have to hire an expert to manage it for me. But at the same time, we're not using it nearly as much as we should be. So that's
right. So so if you're not using the full capability of any CRM, you have to look at why you have the CRM, and then that we can have a whole show about that. But it is a good place if you can align a resource who knows HubSpot well to get the most out of it. You will get a lot out of it. Say it that way, because there's automations and other things you can do to really kind of drive your needle for additional sales and closing deals and things like that. What's your favorite business book?
It's a great question. I really have found a lot of valuable business principles in the Bible. And I think there's still one of the greatest things that you can ever do as a business is treat customers the way that they would want to be treated. And that is a biblical principle, or the way that you would want to be treated. And that is a biblical principle all in itself, as well as other things like honesty and such. Besides the Bible, there is a really good book called Traction by Gino Wickman that I wish I had read 10 years ago. And I'm just really going through the process of implementing the EOS system that Traction talks about right now.
I think that's the Bible is very interesting. And I know in our company, we idea is around everything's around altruism, right? In service of others, in particular, your profile of one, like your customer. So I'm in agreement with you that isn't, outside of the other things that are taught in there, not a bad place to base some of the stuff you do on serving others, helping others, humility, things like that. So agreed on that. On LinkedIn specifically, who do you like to follow? Either can be up and coming, they could be established, but who's a kind of a person you kind of go to get inspiration or just read content?
So Wes Spencer is somebody who is specifically aligned with the cybersecurity industry, and he is phenomenal. I've met him in person at a conference. I talk to him regularly via LinkedIn, and he produces some great content for people in our industry. And so I really enjoy following his stuff. And we're actually just landed our own podcast interview with him. That's going to be a live webinar actually in the second week of December.
Oh, nice! Congratulations. That's very good. Sounds like I'm sure that'll be a very exciting. We got a fulfilled episode for you just personally.
Yes, it's a dream come true. So yeah,
awesome. So we'll have to share some links for that once we get this out as well. You have a podcast that started up as well. What's kind of your I'll ask you kind of these together. Favorite podcasting mic and streaming technology?
I'm using a Zoom called a Zoom P4 mixing system, and I don't remember which. I think it's a Shure mic that I have connected with it, but I don't know off the top, and I don't have it with me here today.
Your mic sounds great, so we can't give a Shure credit for that. But it's a
well, that you can thank Apple then for the good quality of the microphone today.
There you go. And you are using any streaming technology?
Not really. We're just getting started, so we're trying not to get too perfectionist about this right now. It's another big takeaway that I've learned is like you can sit and plan for years. Sometimes you just have to get started. So we've just been, recording the calls on a Zoom conference call with for the podcast and just converting that, rolling with it.
It works great, and if you're wildly successful, you can upgrade to higher definition audio and all those fun things later. Most people don't care. What's your favorite bank as an entrepreneur?
Goodness, I think your local credit union, wherever you're at, is a great one. We use, I don't know if I should say this on the air, being in cybersecurity, but we use one that's based here in the county that we live in the Portland, Oregon area. I'll just put it that way.
Gotcha. Yes, as a cybersecurity, you don't want to give out any routing numbers right now or anything else.
Thank you.
It's fun.
Can't get too much more personal than that, Thomas.
Right, exactly. Don't be diving in now. What is the last word of your social and your mother's maiden name? No. Don't answer that, please. Most important entrepreneurial trait.
I would say what's the word that I'm looking for, but it's the never quit mentality. Kind of like Navy SEALs going through boot camp and BUDS training, right? You You can't quit.
You can't quit is the number one answer for sure. Grit, persistence, resilience. I throw all those kind of in there in a mix.
See, that's why I rely on people like you who can think of the right word at the right time.
I just heard it more often than you. It's all. I make up words if I don't know. So I gifted this by other smart.
My dad calls it stick-it-to-activity.
Stick-it-to-activity? Please explain that.
Stick-it-to-activity. Just sticking to it.
Oh, sticking to it. Okay. I didn't even get it. Just stick to it. You got to show up. That's the thing. So in the entrepreneurs that are, still joining us now for this part of the show, I know there are days in my journey, and I'm not on it as long as you have been, that I've been like, I just need to go find a job. I'm tired of it. I don't want to work today, but I keep showing up. And some of those days are the best days where you get a new customer, you have a new epiphany, or you work on something that you just got to show up and keep plugging away at it. It does that is the hallmark trait, I think, of an entrepreneur, is just show up, get it done.
Yeah.
Final question for you.
We've had some really, really, really bad days in our business, and those are some definite moments where you're like, is this really worth it?
Yes.
But I'm glad I didn't quit. So
there you go. And you'll have to get through them to make it. That's kind of the risk reward. I have one final question for you. It's a big one. Have you ever been promoted?
Yes, I have.
Oh, you can't join the club. Sorry. This is the Never Been Promoted podcast.
Oh.
Thanks for attending. Have a great day. No, kidding. When was you promoted?
Well, it depends on how you define promote. I mean, when I was in a regular job, they promoted me.
Yeah, that definitely counts. That's the one we're talking about.
Okay.
I just helped myself, but
I may have been promoted via, marketing and things like that. Here and there. Absolutely. Well,
you've got a real job promotion, which you somehow have struck the balance of taking it on, being promoted and becoming an entrepreneur that's successful. So congratulations to you. I would definitely, anyone listening here, I would listen to him. He knows what he's doing. But I really appreciate your time today, by the way, with me and helping other entrepreneurs on your journey. Maybe as we kind of, exit and end our time together, how does someone get a hold of you? Who should get a hold of you? Why should they get a hold of you? Take a couple minutes to do like just a shameless plug for yourself and your business.
Great. I know how to do that. Yeah. I guess when you say, have you ever been promoted? If you promote yourself, which is what I'm about to do, then I guess I have been promoted in that way too. And you don't get very far in the business world if you don't know how to promote yourself. So business owners who don't have a full-time IT staff or don't have enough full-time IT staff. Many people don't have an IT department. Think of us as your outsourced IT department at a fraction of the cost. And we'll help handle everything from your emails to your computers, to your servers, to your networks, and manage all that for you proactively. And we'll also work to secure it from hackers. So the best way to start that relationship with us is to go to bytagig.com and reach out to us on our website there. And we will be happy to do a cybersecurity risk assessment. And that's one of the ways that we first begin our relationship with our clients, showing them where they're at risk of being hacked and work to reduce that risk with them.
Very important, no doubt. Thank you, by the way, so much for taking the time to join me, John. Listen, if you are going to be an entrepreneur, you got to learn from other people. You have to take the time to listen and truly, don't try to solve it all on your own. Don't know it all. I don't know about you, John, but if I was smart as I was in my 20s, I've gotten dumber through the years, realize how little I know. So try to be curious, learn from others, and that's what we serve to do. But John, thank you so much for coming today on the Never Been Promoted podcast.
Thank you for having me, Thomas. It's been very enjoyable.
But listen, it's been my pleasure. And anybody still listening, by the way, thank you for still listening to this point. As we try to help you unleash your entrepreneurs' inner abilities, you're just taking where you are today and where you want to be tomorrow. That's what we're trying to help through the voice and knowledge of other entrepreneurs. Thanks again for listening to the Never Been Promoted podcast, and I will see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Never Been Promoted with Thomas Helfrich. Make sure to check the show notes for our guest contact information and any relevant links. Connect with Thomas personally at neverbeenpromoted.com.
Thanks again to InstantlyRelevant.com for producing the show, all the social media, all the content, posts, articles, everything. Could not do it without you. InstantlyRelevant.com. Check it out. They're awesome. Once again, InstantlyRelevant.com.